it is necessary, but not at all a simple matter, but it's necessary to strike a balance between interacting with the world around you and nevertheless maintaining your own standards. Now, some people may feel that the only way for them to do this is to completely cut themselves off from much of the surrounding society, and that in general may be very true. It depends on the circumstances, perhaps, but in general, that is true. We see this idea here in what we've been studying here in the Rambam. Now, it is true also that for people, for Talmidei Chachamim, who have a broader and deeper understanding of Torah, they understand that the Jewish people is a nation. They will try to be active in those areas as well. But they should always keep in mind that they should not be doing these things at the expense of themselves or their families. So, for example, should one bring into one's home people who are very distant from Torah in order to befriend them and maybe, to mekarev otam, to influence them to become somehow connected to the Torah? Should one do that in one's own home, with one's family, with one's children? Not necessarily. Why must this take place in the home? It can be done in some other form. Yes, it's good and correct to teach, to inform, to influence people who are distant from Torah to become more aware of the Torah and to become more receptive to the Torah. But one doesn't have to do this in a manner which endangers one's own family life, the atmosphere in the home, etc. That would be an example of, on the one hand, not being without care, without regard for other Jews and what becomes of them, but on the other hand, remaining the person and the family that you wish to be. And that I think is
regarding
back in the correct balance. So if you want to have some gathering where Talmid Chachamim speaks to a group of irreligious Jews, that can be organized, and it's an important thing. And for example, in the Haredi world, this is also done. But they will not invite such people into their homes. That's all, and that is correct and reasonable and wise.
Well, one approach to Kiruv is to let a Jew experience Shabbat, taking a sort of experiential approach, as opposed to thinking that the most effective Kiruv method is not persuasion, but letting people experience Shabbat. So
that's all very true and all very good. But if that means that people who are, shall we say, improperly attired are going to come into your home, why is that a price that you have to pay in your home? It's enough that you organize events and gatherings in such a way that you can communicate with such people. And if a person, let's say, begins to become influenced by what they're hearing from you and others, and they understand how they should show up in your home, well, that's good, and at that point maybe it's possible to invite them to your home, but you cannot just turn your home, for example, into the shuk, which is a problematic place. So basically, what we're saying is that Talmidei Chachamim should be capable of processing all these facts and all these matters, the possible pitfalls and dangers of doing something, as opposed to the possible gain. These things have to be weighed out very carefully. It should not be done in a lightheaded manner. That, well, we want to Mekarev Jews, so we're just going to invite all these people into our home. However they come is fine. No, it's not.
I guess there's a possibility in some cases where certain non-religious people may actually act like a mensch in a certain sense and realize that they have to come dressed properly to your house, and then the question is,
how do you make that assumption? You can only make that assumption with regards to someone that you have met, that you know, that you see this person will understand how they should come to your home, for example.
Well, I'm talking about,
if you have no reason to make that assumption, then you should not make that assumption. And today the world is such a is a place with so little. The norms and standards are so so completely disintegrated that you can make no such assumptions at all. Perhaps once was a little bit different, but it's not the case nowadays. Today you have to make the opposite assumption, as we said before in Chot Edut. A person whom you know to be bereft of Torah altogether, you must assume that he is an avarian. Why? Because that's the reality. It's not because we're nasty people, not because we're trying to assume the worst about people at every step of the way. No, because we live in the real world, and we know how these things work, and therefore we know that such a person's testimony, mashal, is of no value and cannot be taken seriously at all. The Torah is idealistic, but is also grounded and rooted in reality. We therefore are idealists, but we are also realists, and there has to be a balance of these two approaches. Realism and idealism have to be somehow worked together. They have to be made to work together. But one cannot simply be naivety is not a mitzvah. There's no mitzvah to be naive. Certainly not when it can cause harm to you and to others.
Thank you, Rabbi Bar-Hayim. We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. We would also like to suggest the following opportunity to our viewers. If you identify with Rabbi Bar-Hayim's message and would like to sponsor or dedicate a video interview with the rabbi in honor or memory of a loved one, if you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.